On a Friday. Hope everybody's day is off to a great start. Luke Worsham is in for Zach Bingham. As we mentioned yesterday on the show, Zach is on his way to Dallas, Texas to help get some things set up with a new market there in Dallas and with A to Z Sports. And so Luke is actually taking over Casa de Bingham there. So it might look the same, but Luke is literally sitting in Zach's chair for the next couple of weeks as Zach gets that set up. But we're going to have a good show on this Friday morning talking about the new quarterback, number 2. I don't know. The Titans made some moves yesterday with new quarterback Matt Barkley has been brought in to compete with Logan Woodside for that second quarterback job for the Tennessee Titans. Also address another position of need that we talked about last week a little bit there too. So then once we talk about the backup quarterback job and what the Titans are doing to address it, how they're approaching it, ask you guys a couple questions. We'll go through one breakout offensive and defensive player through 1 week of camp. Luke and I have been out at practice nearly every day over the last week plus watching these guys. So we'll talk about who overall for the first week, who has really popped out that we weren't expecting to breakout offensive and defensive player through week 1 of camp. And then it is Friday, so ain't that good news on a Friday, as always, to send us to the weekend. Hope everybody is doing well. Rusty says, welcome, Luke. Welcome, Luke. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a good start to your morning.
I like this comment. A to L sports now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, L falls in between A and Z, so
yeah.
It all works. It all works.
Yeah,
that's part of the beauty of it, right?
You know, it's funny because I would watch this show in the mornings before I even started working for you guys. So it's very cool to be, as you said, literally taking Zach's seat for the next 2 weeks. I will say, though, I am disappointed that I don't get to be a part of the old segment, and I'm sure all of you know this, the like cardboard holding the ads.
Oh, yeah.
Like I miss out on that experience. It's all graphics now.
Yeah.
I guess we had to
upgrade.
Yeah, that technically makes it easier on us, but I won't get to participate in that. Good morning, everyone. We are glad to be with you on this Friday morning. And before we get going with our Titans conversation this morning, we need you to help us out by sharing the show. You can do that on whatever platform you are using to watch or listen this morning: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter /Periscope, and Twitch. Wherever you are listening, we need to appear in your friends /followers timelines or feeds, because the more people that we can get in here, the more fun that we can have, and the discussion will grow. But to do that, we need you to share the show so that we can continue to grow in that way. Very excited to be here with you for the next 2 weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. So let's get this thing rolling officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by BetMGM. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Luke Worsham in for Zach Bingham. Zach is in Dallas for the next couple of weeks, as I'm sure more comments will continue to ask where Zach is at. But Zach is in Dallas for the next couple of weeks. He'll be back after getting that set up there for the football season. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out you guys. Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the area at renterswarehouse.com. Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com. Your first workout is free. Wilson County Hyundai. For your next ride, head out to wilsoncountyhyundai.com in Lebanon. Calvin and Settle for your brand new hardwood floors and finishings. They are at calvinandsettle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. So Luke in for Zach, like I've mentioned several times already. Zach will be back later on in August after getting set up there in Dallas with our new market with those new guys. A to Z Sports Live in Dallas is actually live right now with our guy Will Steele over on our social media with that. But Luke, last Friday, Zach and I had a conversation about 2 positions of growing concern for the Tennessee Titans. They were the backup quarterback and the kicking situation with the first 3 weeks of practice. And it was ugly with Logan Woodside and Deshaun Kaiser. They're the backup quarterback job. And at that point, Tucker McCann and Ohio State rookie Blake Heibel, who I don't think was around long enough for us to figure out the correct pronunciation of his last name. But now, in a week's time since that show, Luke, they've moved on from Blake Heibel, as I mentioned. They brought in Sam Ficken, who was waived by the Jets. So the Titans pick up Sam Ficken off of waivers. And then yesterday, they cut DeShone Kizer to bring in former Bears star quarterback against the Titans, Matt Barkley. So
Yeah.
Matt Barkley is the newest Titans backup quarterback. Luke, DeShone Kizer has been one of the bigger talking points from the media at Titans practice on the sidelines, but for all the wrong reasons, hasn't he?
Yeah. And I don't know why anyone would be terribly shocked by this development, because DeShone Kizer has never been any good in the NFL. And in my opinion, he hasn't really done anything since like high school. Because if you remember, this is the guy who nearly got Brian Kelly fired at
Right.
Notre Dame just 5-6 years ago. And then you get to NFL draft season. And I remember like Peter Schrager and those types of guys talking about there being first overall hype for DeShone Kizer. And I never understood that. I don't think anyone was shocked when he ended up not playing well with the Cleveland Browns. He's just not very good. He's not accurate. He's very similar to Blaine Gabbert. He's not quite as erratic as Blaine Gabbert, but he's got that first overall pick, first round quarterback body and athletic trait.
Yeah.
And then nothing else. Like there's no accuracy, there's no timing, there's no rhythm or anything like that. And so I don't know why anybody would be shocked that he comes into Titans camp and is the exact same person that he's always been. It's not terribly shocking that DeShone Kizer was all over the place throwing bad interceptions in Titans practice.
Yeah, and so now you bring in Matt Barkley, who, if you look at like the pedigrees, Matt Barkley's 6'2", 230, so a well-built guy, but Kizer, Notre Dame prospect. Matt Barkley, USC, Southern Cal, all the prestige from where these guys came from. They both had first-round draft pick hype going into their last year of college. They both did not get drafted in the first round, and they both have been disappointments. I didn't realize this, Luke, but the Titans are Matt Barkley's 8th NFL team to be on. Like that, he has made it around to a quarter of the NFL franchises. And so now Sam Fickens brought in to help compete with Tucker McCann, and now they bring Matt Barkley in to really compete with Logan Woodside. Logan Woodside has just been Mr. Reliable. He's just over here, sticking around. He's fought off Trevor Siemian last year. He's fought off several backup quarterbacks over the last couple of years. So how do you see this changing the backup quarterback job in the race to win that behind Ryan Tannehill?
I don't know that it really does, because I think Logan Woodside is pretty locked in as that quarterback too. Now, we could have a whole nother conversation about whether Logan Woodside is good enough to be the quarterback too, and I think we will have that conversation in just a minute. But, this doesn't really change anything. Matt Barkley is not the Logan Woodside replacement. Matt Barkley is the DeShone Kizer replacement. They're seeing, and we'll get to ask Vrabel about this today, but my guess is that what they're doing with this is they're seeing if they can get better production out of Matt Barkley than what they were getting out of DeShone Kizer. And then potentially for Barkley, this could turn into a quarantine quarterback, protected practice squad player situation. I don't think that Matt Barkley is competing with Logan Woodside for the backup quarterback job.
Really?
I think they like Woodside a lot, and I think he is pretty locked into that spot. Yeah, I mean,
oh, wow.
A week into camp, I mean, it's just like Cole McDonald all over again from last year, right? Cole McDonald lasted, a week in camp?
Yeah, he was really bad. Cole McDonald was terrible.
Yeah.
I said it right when they drafted Cole McDonald out of Hawaii, and Titans fans lost their mind because they got a new Hawaiian quarterback to come in there, even though Cole McDonald.
The Aloha spirit.
Even though he's from California. He just went to school in Hawaii. He's from California, but that didn't mean anything because he's Cole McDonald. He had dreads and cornrows at some point. But Cole McDonald was terrible. He was a waste of a draft pick. And I said this to you. I think I was talking to you at practice the other day. Any snap that DeShone Kizer would take in practice was a waste of a snap because Ed says Woodside has an upside. I mean, maybe, but we haven't even seen Logan Woodside do anything in a game besides take a short.
And then there's Ronnie who says the opposite.
Yeah, because all we've seen from Woodside is he takes the the up back snap on a fake punt, throws an outright to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine,
and it wasn't
convert.
even that good of a throw. It was wobbly.
It got there in a hurry there, and it was accurate. You're right. It wasn't a pretty spiral, but it got there in a hurry. It was accurate, and they converted the fake punt for a first down. So let's go ahead and ask you guys this question. Does Matt Barkley make you feel better, the same, or worse about the Titans' backup quarterback job? Does Matt Barkley make you feel better, the same, or worse about the Titans' backup quarterback job? But first, let me tell you guys about our friends at Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the area. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. There's so many different ways you can use Renters Warehouse to your benefit. If you rent out your property instead of selling it, you get long-term equity, long-term wealth, and a cash flow machine of a property. That's the long play to do it. Selling your house is great, but it's a one-time transaction and you lose all of it right after that sale. But Renters Warehouse can make that thing a cash flow machine for you. Also, if you're looking for that right place to rent, they've got great inventory across the entire mid-state, different types of homes, single homes, all the way down to the condos, apartment duplexes, townhomes, whatever it might be, at renterswarehouse.com.
I want to tell you a little bit about BetMGM this morning. They are the king of sports books, and there's a reason that we call them the king of sports books at BetMGM. And one of those reasons is that right now, if you sign up for BetMGM on their app or on their website, and you use the promo code A to Z Sports when you sign up for BetMGM, you will receive a free, risk-free bet of up to $600. So up to $600 you can bet totally risk-free using that promo code A to Z Sports. That's a great way to get your feet wet in sports betting if that's something you've been interested in for a while, but sort of hesitant. It's a great way to get started with that. Or if you're a vet and you haven't tried out BetMGM yet, I want to encourage you to do that too, because it will be worth your while. BetMGM, the king of sports books.
All right, so the question this morning is, does Matt Barkley make you feel better or worse about the Titans' backup quarterback situation, or even the same? Better, the same, or worse about this backup situation now with Logan Woodside and Matt Barkley, now that Deshaun Kaiser is out the door. So I'm going to read some comments here from you guys, then we'll get our conversations here. Zach Carpenter says better. Travis says the same. James says the same. Which I'm guessing if you answer the same, you still probably feel bad about it, right? Because it's not a great, but you could feel worse. Like, I don't know if Teron Davenport was a real big Deshaun Kaiser guy. I don't know if he feels worse about it now or not, but let's see. Rusty says Denver had a receiver start at quarterback, so it could always be worse.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Kyle says same. Easy E says worse. Matt Barkley sucks. Jarrell says same. Christopher same. Tied Up Ohio says same. No change here. Corey says the same. Larry the same. David the same. Joe says pretty much the same. Jeff Rubel says the same. I bet he is a cut for the 53-man roster. Mason says better. And Zach adds the not better, but not by much. Aaron says the same until we see some preseason play. Louis says bad. Ethan says better. He's better than Kaiser. I think he's better than Deshaun Kaiser. But again, that's not saying a lot. Titans for Life says same. Daniel says slightly better. Joe says slightly better than Kaiser. Sawyer on Twitch says the same. These guys just bounce around. Greg says worse. They aren't taking the backup job seriously. Greg, we will get to that point later on in the show. But Luke, do you feel better, the same, or worse about the Titans' backup job after they sign Matt Barkley and cut Deshaun Kaiser?
I don't know why you would feel any better based on Matt Barkley being in here, because Matt Barkley's not a very good player. Like, in order to feel better about this situation, they would have had to brought in or someone that is an improvement over Logan Woodside, because Logan Woodside is still your guy. Matt Barkley, like I said, is not beating out Logan Woodside for this job. So if you felt bad before, I don't know why you would feel any better now, just because Matt Barkley is maybe less turnover prone than Deshaun Kaiser. I don't know. There's a reason that Matt Barkley was a free agent on August the 5th. Like, this is not some sort of revolutionary signing here. I don't understand why anyone could think that the situation has improved at all. And maybe you didn't think it was that big of a deal to begin with. I know that there are those out there, and that's a fair view, I think, and we'll get into that. But this situation did not radically change, or I don't even think the needle really moved at all based on this. They got rid of one bad quarterback and brought in another one, like whoop-de-doo.
All right, so you say maybe Matt Barkley is slightly less turnover prone. So I've got stats side-by-side comparisons for Matt Barkley and DeShone Kizer. You ready for this, Luke? Let's check it out. Let's just see how much less turnover prone Matt Barkley is compared to DeShone Kizer. These are the career passing numbers. So Matt Barkley, 2,699 yards, 11 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. Not good. DeShone Kizer, 3,081 yards, 11 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. So, I mean, Luke, yeah, slightly less turnover prone. You're not wrong there, but I mean, you're not getting a lot of experience.
I think it really nailed that take that he was slightly less turnover prone.
Slightly less interception rate. So here's, because James says zero difference in these two guys. I disagree, because DeShone Kizer is 0-15 as a starter. Now, that's kind of not fair because he played and started for the 0-16 Browns, who had problems a lot bigger than DeShone Kizer as an entire organization. Matt Barkley has had less opportunity to start, but he's done better when he's been called into duty. He's 2-5 as a starter. Now, his best game, Luke, I'm sure you remember this game. We'll call it the Parrish Cox game. When the Titans were in Chicago against the Bears, Matt Barkley was the starter and lit up the Titans defense, and specifically Parrish Cox, threw 3 touchdowns in that game. The Titans still won, barely. That's because a backup receiver for the Bears dropped a touchdown pass while Parrish Cox was laying on his back in the end zone. And the Titans survived that game, right? But Parrish Cox got cut Tuesday after that game. And so Matt Barkley, I think, has more potential to not screw things up if called upon, where DeShone Kizer was always going to screw whatever he had to do up. And he screwed up the first week of training camp, and that's why he's cut.
But here's the problem, though, is he's not going to be called upon.
Man, so it's my turn to answer the question. How do I feel, same, better, or worse about the Titans' backup quarterback job? I feel slightly better just because I view Matt Barkley as better competition to Woodside than Kizer, which means that Woodside will at least have a little bit more pressure on him to perform than what DeShone Kizer was doing. Kizer was making it easy on Woodside because he was throwing inaccurate footballs and also throwing interceptions, it seemed like, every day at practice, where I think Matt Barkley will put up a better fight for that job to push Woodside to improve.
I think they just like Woodside's too much for that. And I don't know that he's a significant improvement.
Well,
let me watch him throw the ball today, then I'll get back to you on that on Monday.
And I'm excited about what we might do a pop-up after Titans practice today. If Matt Barkley's out there doing drills for the first day as a Titan, we'll see what that looks like. Titans practice, they get on the field this morning at 9:30 Central Time. So Luke and I will be out there watching the new quarterback go out and do it, and we'll find out really how he looks.
You know what this is like? This is like last year. I just remembered this when it's not the same as Cole McDonald. We were having this conversation before the show. DeShone Kizer and Cole McDonald situations are not the same. But what is the same is the situation where last year they bring in Trevor Siemian.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, they fixed it, right? They got in this guy who nearly made the Pro Bowl with the Broncos back in the day. And oh my gosh, they finally fixed the backup quarterback. And then we watched him throw, and it was an unmitigated disaster in practice. I think this has potential to be very similar to that, where a lot of people are sitting here and be like, all right, Matt Barkley, USC guy, let's go. And then he gets out there on the field, and you're like, and you pull those stats up where he's 11 and 22 touchdown to interception. You're like, oh yeah, that's who Matt Barkley is.
Yeah, and he's on his 8th NFL team at this point. I'm just going to go through and read all the different teams that see, he's only like played in a game for 3 teams. He's played for the Eagles, the Bears, and the Buffalo Bills. The Titans are his 8th team. I'm going to have to go to his Wikipedia page to get the full rundown of all the different rosters that he's been on at some point in his career, because 8 is a lot. He's only 30 years old. He's about to turn 31 next month. So here's all the he's played. He was drafted in the 4th round by the Eagles. He was a top 100 pick. They traded him to the Cardinals after 2 years, played with the Bears that 1 year. Then he went out to San Francisco in the offseason, and then they moved him back to the Cardinals. Then he went to the Bengals for a year, and then the Bills for the last 3 seasons. So he's coming off a stint where he played 3 years with the Bills. I like what the Bills do offensively. So I wonder how much he's been able to learn up there in Buffalo under that coaching staff and Brian Daboll over the last couple of years. We just haven't seen Matt Barkley play that often because Josh Allen's been the guy the last 2 years. Maybe he's gotten better because DeShone Kizer was not getting any better. Maybe Matt Barkley can get better at this point. That's the only hope, if you're a Titans fan wanting to see something better out of the position, is that he has improved and gotten smarter and learned the position behind Brian Daboll, the OC for the Bills.
I will say, I feel like Matt Barkley is probably a better processor than DeShone Kizer, probably has better conceptual understanding of an offense generally, than Kizer would. So I would say that is going in his direction. It was funny yesterday. I was sitting eating lunch and I got the beep that Matt Barkley was signing with the Titans. And I had to sit there and think, I was like, has he played here before? Like, because you said he played for so many teams. I couldn't remember if he had already had a stint here, if he hadn't. But that's kind of the career arc that he's had, where you have to sit there and ask yourself those questions.
Yeah, he's just almost beaten the Titans before. So he's thrown 3 touchdown passes against the Titans in that game with the Bears back in 2016. A to Z Sports here live. Dom brings this up. He says, Tannehill, just don't get hurt. Problem solved. Kicker sucks. Just score TDs. Problem solved. LOL. But the whole thing of Tannehill, just don't get hurt, is real because the Titans' backup quarterback job is not healthy. So here's our next discussion. We like doing this for you guys. What is one word to describe the Titans' approach to the backup quarterback job? What is one word to describe the Titans' approach to it, where they've had Logan Woodside here for now. This year 3 he's been on the roster. The first year he was on practice squad injured reserve, so that doesn't necessarily count. But this is his 2nd year as the backup quarterback that they are seeming to like a lot in the building, right? So what's one word to describe that? A lot of comments are flying in. We'll read some of your comments, but first let me tell everybody about our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to get their great inventory right there in Lebanon off exit 236 off I-40. It's a great dealership. It's a great buying experience. We've watched people walk in there and be greeted by the salespeople. It's not a sleazy sales experience like you get at a lot of car dealerships. They treat you right. It's a family-owned business with Payne Bone and his family, and they do a great job of finding the right vehicle for you. They're not just trying to push a sale. They're trying to help you out and create a relationship to find the right car for you, whether it's a Sonata, any other sedans they have there with Hyundai, or the badass Hyundai Palisade that Zach talks about quite a bit. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go.
I'm going to tell you again about BetMGM. They are the king of sports books, and like I said earlier, there's a reason they're the king of sports books, and right now you need to take advantage of one of those reasons, because if you sign up for the BetMGM app right now, use the promo code A to Z Sports that you see on your screen, you will receive a free risk-free bet of up to $600. And like I said before, that's a great way to get your feet wet in the sports betting world if that's something you haven't done before. Or if you are a veteran sports bettor and you're just looking for something new or a good opportunity, there's no better time than the present to check out BetMGM. Promo code A to Z Sports, risk-free bet of up to $600.
Yep, A to Z Sports back here on this Friday. Luke Worsham is in for Zach Bingham. The question topic is right now, what's one word to describe the Titans' approach to the backup quarterback job? And Luke, there's a lot of answers have come in since we've been talking about our great sponsors. Greg was first. He says lazy. Chris says cheap. Ben gives us a sentence, but I'll pick out his one word, and that would be mediocre. He says, I feel like the Titans have brought in very mediocre tight ends, quarterback twos, and kickers. Ant says lackluster. Tighten up Ohio going with lazy. Zach, I like the roulette word. Lackluster again. Weak from Rob. There's another lackluster. I didn't think lackluster would be the most popular vocab word on the show today. Dumpster fire. Faith. Omar. Positivity on a Friday. Greg says body. I don't know, body bag or just an extra body. Steven with danger. Jason confident. Donald says lackadaisical. Nate just says Muppets. Danny says amusing. Orlando says lazy. Cam went with cocky. Kevin dysfunctional. Yawn from Ben. Lazy from D. Marie. Lazy, dull, typical. Woodside from Antonio. AWOL. Lackadaisical. I don't know if Titans for Life is English or not, but rubbish right there.
I love it. I love it.
Counterintuitive. I think James has the most characters, the longest word that we've had. Counterintuitive.
Right. The most letters came from this one.
Oh, well, yeah, but that doesn't count. Complacent, losses, lazy, careless, underestimated the importance. Oh, Mason's going a little deeper there. All right, Luke, what's your one word to describe the approach to the backup quarterback position?
I'm going to go with underestimating. That's a big one for you, underestimating. Here's what I mean by that. I think that the Titans are underestimating the importance of a backup quarterback. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people who say, well, if Tannehill gets hurt, the Titans are screwed anyway. Sure, if he tears his ACL or is out for a significant period of time, but all the time a quarterback will get hurt and miss like a week or two. And so you're not looking for someone that's going to take your team on a Matt Castle run with the Patriots over an entire season because your quarterback blows his knee out in week one, right? That's an anomaly. That doesn't happen. You do, however, need someone who can play a game or two in the event that your quarterback endures a more minor injury, someone who can be that stopgap for just a couple of games and maybe go 1-1 in those two games. That's what you're looking for. And I question whether Logan Woodside can be that for the Titans. It seems to me like if Logan Woodside had to play for the Titans and they were playing anyone other than like the Texans, it would be a pretty much guaranteed loss. And so I think the Titans are underestimating the importance of having a good backup quarterback.
And so Lewis has a good comment. He says, they know the importance. Remember the 2019 Tannehill experience. I mean, that it's a good point, but that was a very different situation because Marcus Mariota was going into the fifth year. They picked up his fifth-year option after his third year because you have to do that, the timeline of the NFL. But they picked up the fifth-year option. Tannehill was available via trade in a different, unique situation with the Dolphins. And it was a brilliant foresight by John Robinson to say, I need insurance for this quarterback because I don't really know if I believe in my number one quarterback. And so when you know that there's questions about the number one quarterback, then you need to have a better insurance policy because the risk is bigger with your starter. There is very little risk with the ability of Ryan Tannehill as your starter. Yeah. Therefore, you're taking the cheapest thing you can get from Flo on the internet to fill out your insurance form. And so, my word, Luke, is flippant. They're not taking this seriously. There's arrogance to it. Like they have been proven and shown that the backup quarterback job can keep you out of the playoffs. Mike Vrabel's first year, the backup quarterback job kept them out of the playoffs because Blaine Gabbert threw a terrible, awful interception to the Colts when Jayon Brown was doing everything he possibly could to keep the Titans in that game. And so flippant is my word. They're not taking it serious enough because I'm with you. I'm with everybody who says if Ryan Tannehill goes down, the Titans are absolutely screwed. And so there's such a big drop off from Tannehill to QB2 that it's got to make you nervous anytime that Ryan Tannehill comes up a little gimpy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tannehill when Mariota was still the starter, like you said, Austin, wasn't injury insurance. He was Mariota being insurance, right? He was there more so to not compete for the starting job, but that wasn't injury insurance. That was poor play insurance. So the situations are not quite equivalent.
Yeah, TP says maybe y'all refuse to believe Logan is as good as they believe. TP.
And I think what has happened is Logan Woodside has found himself in the boys club, which is the phrase I like to use for whenever Mike Vrabel just picks his people that he likes and his buddies over like merit. I think Logan Woodside is now in the boys club because they like him and he knows the system. He's not very good, but he's in the boys club, so he'll stick around a little bit.
Yep. Luke, you just informed me via text that we've got some news when it comes to the Titans roster about the biggest free agent signing the Titans had this past offseason. So I'll let Luke discuss this news that just broke a few moments ago via, what was it, our email inboxes? Is that where it came from? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
gotten the email yet. What the hell's going on with my internet? I don't know what's going on with this. I haven't gotten the email yet. But Bud Dupree activated from the PUP. Luke will tell us more here in a second. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Make sure you know where to go when your health is being in question, when that injury happens in life. Definitely go to the Bone and Joint Institute to make sure you can streamline your process back to full health, whether you need surgery or don't need surgery to help you out there, or whether you need that rehab. Boneandjointtn.org is where to go.
And I'm going to tell you again about BetMGM because they are the king of sports books. And right now, if you sign up for the king of sports books, BetMGM, on their app, and you use the promo code A to Z Sports, you will receive a risk-free bet of up to $600. It's hard to get a better deal than that. It's a great way to, as I've said a couple of times already, get your feet wet if you're new to sports betting, or if you're a sports betting veteran and you've never tried BetMGM before. Now is a better time than ever to shift your focus to the best sports betting app, the king of sports books, BetMGM.
Yep, BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years old or must be present in Tennessee. And for gambling problem support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789. Luke, let us know what's going on with Bud Dupree.
Yeah, so Bud Dupree, as we were just emailed, and as you just said, Austin, has been taken off of the PUP list by the Tennessee Titans and presumably will practice today, which is an extraordinarily exciting development. I believe that is the last of their PUP players, unless I'm forgetting someone.
Well, Sambrilo and McNichols came off of PUP.
That's right.
When Caleb Farley came off of NFI.
Yes.
It might be, yeah.
And so we've got a fully healthy team that we get to go watch today, right? And so it's really exciting. And Bud Dupree is someone who is going to be absolutely crucial for the Titans in 2021 because we watched them last year and we saw that they weren't able to get within arm's length of a quarterback hardly ever. And so now you bring in Danico Autry. Tier Tart's going to be better. Harold Landry's going to have some weight taken off of his shoulders by the addition of Rashad Weaver. And then on the other side, you've got this guy, Bud Dupree, who plays with his hair on fire, who's super fast, one of those players that is just a spark plug and jumps out whenever you watch him in a game. And it is unbelievably exciting to sit here now for the Titans that this guy is healthy. And you would think, based on this development, that he is, and I don't know that there was really any doubt about this ever, but he's going to be ready to go week one. And this is sort of the last puzzle piece falling in place for this revamped Titans defense to have a shot to really turn things around in 2021.
Yeah, so several of you guys have brought up some comments that I wanted to get to. You know, G-Man says it seems early. And then Rob asked, when did he tear his ACL? He tore his ACL like the first couple of days of December. So if you can do quick math, you know, you can kind of count December as a 1 month, right? Because he tore it so early on in the month that you get that full month of surgeries in the rehab. So December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So he's around 9 months out of this, 8.5, 9 months from this ACL, where Lawan tore his in mid-October. Lawan had a month and a half ahead of Bud Dupree. So Lawan is around that 10-month mark right now, where Bud Dupree is probably 8.5 is correct. With that, Lawan's going through individual work, not doing any team drills. So Robbie asked, so what does it mean that he's off the PUP list? Will he actually be in practice? Obviously limited. So PUP means you're physically unable to perform, and he's been doing drills on his own with a trainer on that third field that we're not allowed to look at or talk about. We can look at it, we just can't talk about it. But he's been out there doing work. He's can't say anything else besides that. But now he can actually dress, and he's on the active 90-man roster. And so he's going to go through stretch. He'll go through individual, I'm guessing. I don't expect him to do a lick of team work for another couple of weeks. So what do you expect, Luke, from Bud Dupree when it comes to how active he'll be in practice over the next week or so?
Yeah, I think you're right that this is something that is going to take time for him to ramp all the way back up. And the same conversation we had about Caleb Farley a week or so ago on our pop-up after practice when we talked about him, Mike Vrabel is someone who with injured players tends to ease them back in as opposed to sort of throwing them in the swimming pool without a floaty. And I think that that's very wise. It's very smart, especially when it's a veteran like Bud Dupree, who probably practice isn't quite as valuable for. But it's been a while since he's played, so he's going to need to be out there. And I think that being out there with his position group in that individual period at the beginning will be very valuable for him as he works back into a game shape and condition and starts to remember and recall the techniques that he used that allowed him to be so successful in Pittsburgh. So I'm with you, Austin. My gut feeling is that we're going to see him out there today for the first two periods, the stretch, and then the individual. And it'll be a lot like Caleb Farley, where he'll clearly be healthy, right? And he'll clearly be going 100%. It's not like he's out there being tentative or that he's being load managed in any way. But then after a couple of periods of going full throttle 100%, we'll probably step back onto the sideline and watch the rest of practice with his buddy Caleb Farley.
Yeah, Paul asked on Twitter, says, is there a benefit for him being on the 90-man roster today? Why would the Titans not just keep him on PUP? I mean, yeah,
100%.
You want him on the roster. Yeah, you absolutely want him on the roster because you want him to get as much practice time to feel comfortable as possible for September 12th. So, with Bud Dupree being activated, the Titans had to waive somebody. They waived offensive lineman Patrick Jones. Patrick Morris. I did not know.
I think we need to have a moment of silence for the career.
I did not know Patrick Morris was a part of the Titans organization. So there you go. Patrick Morris is no longer with the Titans, but Bud Dupree being out there is important. What I'm going to look for today is Bud Dupree wearing any type of brace around that knee, because we have not really seen Lawan. Lawan will go through individual drills without a brace. Now, if he does do more teamwork where there might be some activity, maybe he puts a brace on for specific situations. I'm curious to see what Bud Dupree will do, since Lawan is about a month or so ahead of Bud Dupree. But yeah, I mean, I think this is only good because Bud Dupree needs to go out there and be impactful week one. You spent $82.5 million over 5 years on this guy in March. You want to make sure you get as much out of him because he is trying to fix your biggest problem, the pass rush. So this is a fantastic development for the Titans, who get Caleb Farley and Bud Dupree off of PUP this early into August.
Yeah, and we've still got a little over 2 weeks to go of camp, and then a preseason game even after that. So like you're hinting at, Austin, there's still plenty of time for this to work out and for Bud Dupree to get some practice time in to be ready for the season. And this is a guy that if you're a Titans fan, you have to be completely and utterly fired up about, because of he's the anti-Jadeveon Clowney. He shows up He produces. You don't have to go, quote unquote, hunting in the film to find out what he actually does. Right. This is a guy who will stand out for the Titans if he is healthy, which it looks like he will be. Very, very exciting news for this football team today.
A to Z Sports on a Friday. Practice starts in 45 minutes. Luke and I will be out there shortly. We're going to go through breakout players for the offensive and defensive side of the ball through one camp practice. Real quick, Tyler asked, refresh his memory, what day's final roster cuts? Usually it's the Saturday before Labor Day. And they've changed up the preseason schedule this year for the first time. So I believe that's around that same time. The Friday or the Saturday before Labor Day, Luke, is usually that date. It looks like Luke's gonna confirm that. And then Anton asked a question about Julio Jones, and we'll address that, and we'll get Luke's answer on that cut down day. But first, let me tell you guys all about Calvin and Subtle. If you are looking to upgrade your home with brand new flooring, Calvin and Subtle is where to go in the mid-state. They do a fantastic job of making this an easy process on you, because if you're getting new flooring, it's great for your home, great to improve your home's value and equity, but it's also going to disrupt your life for that time that they're putting in the new floors. So do it with a company who does it efficiently, and they get in and out of your house with as little disruption as possible. That is Calvin and Subtle. CalvinandSubtle.com is where to go. They've got a bunch of different styles of hardwood floors, finishings, anything you might need to look great in your home. 615-448-6414 is their phone number, or you can simply go to CalvinandSubtle.com.
And again, if you sign up for the BetMGM app today and you use the promo code A to Z Sports, you will receive a risk-free bet of up to $600. And BetMGM is great for even more reasons than that. But what more reason do you need than that to sign up today for BetMGM, the king of sports books?
Yep, A to Z Sports here live on this Friday. Luke, did you find the exact cut down day?
I did, and I didn't realize that the rules have changed this year, because they did a couple of years where instead of having the tapered cuts where it first goes down to this many players and then goes down to 53.
It used to go 90 to 75, then 75 to 53, but they cut out that middle cut a couple of years ago.
Well, they're going back to the taper this year, according to the NFL's website. Yes, and this is a 2021 calendar, so this is current. On August the 17th, which is, of course, 11 days from today, they got to go down to 85.
Interesting.
And then a week after that, they got to go down to 80. And then a week after that, on August the 31st, they go down to 53.
They've never done that before. Like, they've never had two of those. Like, I wonder what
this is news to me, too. I didn't know this was happening.
Anyway. So Anton asked real quick, what happened to Julio Jones? Is he hurt? Is he injured? Luke, we both saw the play that Julio dropped a touchdown pass from Tannehill, kind of fell awkwardly-ish, not really like looking weird, but he was slow to get up, stood on the defensive sideline for a few minutes. They finished that practice period, went to the special teams period, and Julio walked to the locker room, and we haven't seen him since. So he's missed at least he missed two practices since that happened on Monday morning. So, I don't think anything's wrong with Julio. It's just that the Titans know that Julio Jones practicing on August 6th or August 4th is not important. It's Julio Jones playing on September 12th. And to me, it's not that too big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't think he's really hurt. I think it's just they're being extremely cautious, as they really should have been all along, and as they, I think, have been all along.
Yeah, do a good job of that, of making sure they understand which players need time off, and et cetera. All right, Luke, give me one offensive breakout player through 1 week of training camp that has really caught your eye. And A.J. Brown's caught everybody's eye because he looks so much better than he's ever looked before, but he is ineligible for this conversation.
He's not really a breakout guy. I'm going to go with Chester Rogers is who I'm going with, partially because, as we've had the conversation, with the way the numbers work out, he's an experienced punt returner. It looks like he's got a good shot to make the roster based on that. But in addition, he's worked well in the slot. Incidentally, I actually talked to Deshaun Kaiser a week ago about that, and he talked about how good Chester Rogers is in the slot and how reliable he's been over the last year or so that he's been on the Titans with the practice squad and now on the training camp roster. And I think this is a guy who has a good shot to make the team. come whatever those dates were that I just
August
read off.
31st.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think Chester Rogers is my offensive breakout.
No, that's fair. And actually, I put up a TikTok yesterday on the off day. I had some Chester. You know what's funny? We had an Instagram DM on the A to Z account that was asking for a Chester Rogers TikTok. And I've never, they asked for a Chester Rogers TikTok. And so,
Who could have predicted that would happen a week
and
or
so,
so
you know what I
ago?
did? The next day at practice, I put together a Chester Rogers TikTok. And so, but I think it's legitimate because the guy has kind of come out of nowhere. I think he gives the Titans a lot more receiver than Cam Batson would. I think he's more experienced as a return guy than Cam Batson. He's a bigger body. When the Titans were going through practice drills, wide receiver individual drills on Wednesday, when there was no Julio Jones, there was no Josh Reynolds, A.J. Brown led the drills. Chester Rogers was second. And does that matter? I don't know. Cody Hollister's usually in the top 3 of those drill lines too. I don't think that matters, like what order your layup lines are in. But I do think Chester Rogers is working his way up to being a nice, solid surprise at this point in training camp.
Definitely.
So my offensive player to break out, because I was asked this question on Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone a couple days ago. And I don't expect this guy to break out, but it's just somebody else who we seem to always be talking about after nearly every practice, and that's Racey McMath. And Rob coincidentally just asked right now, any rookie standouts? Racey McMath is somebody that I'm very fascinated by because I think he's going to he is the guy that's so hard to cut. If you get Racey, if you're getting down to those cut days and you got Racey McMath, you're like, I don't want to cut this guy. You spend a 6th-round draft pick on him. He's incredibly raw as a wide receiver, but he's like 6'3", 220, explosive, fast, can do a lot of different things. And so I like Racey McMath to make this roster. He's not a breakout guy, but he's just somebody who always does something to make us say, that was interesting. And the latest one was when they did open field tackle drills on the first day of pads, and they run out, I believe it was Mason Kinsey. They call offensive name and defensive name. They call out Racey McMath, Mason Kinsey, and say, no, Racey, you're on defense. And I'm like, okay, they're seeing what this guy can do on special teams. So Racey McMath is my guy to continue to look at. And so I did see Rob says that I said to pump the brakes on him the other day. I specifically was responding to Racey McMath as wide receiver number 4. Pump the brakes on Racey McMath being wide receiver number 4.
And A.J. Brown saying that he's Julio.
Yes. Chris asked, do you think McMath is ahead of Dez Fitzpatrick right now? Well,
I'll answer of, receiver on offense, no.
I'll answer it this way. If the Titans are playing a game next week where they have to have 46 active game day players, I think right now, with Julio healthy, Josh Reynolds healthy, right now, Racey McMath, I think, is ahead of Dez Fitzpatrick when it comes to game day activation. Because Racey can do special teams. Dez Fitzpatrick does not strike me as a special teams guy really moving forward. I think he's more of like an actual receiver there. So that's my offensive guy to watch. I definitely think Chester Rogers is a good one. Larry asks, is Josh Reynolds hurt? We haven't seen Josh Reynolds in close to a week practicing. We've seen him do some things off to the side, whether it's a bike or some other training stuff. Excuse me, but we haven't seen Josh Reynolds in a couple days for sure. So, Luke, who is your defensive breakout player over the first week of camp?
Got to go with Pop-Tart. Teair Tart has looked outstanding during practice. He's really stepped his game up. He's clearly improved, and he gives me a lot of confidence in that Titans defensive line group for this season.
Yeah, when I answered the question with Blaine and Mickey, I also said Teair Tart. And I wanted to go they asked me one offense, one defense, and I think there's been more defensive guys who have broken out in the first a week of camp. But yeah, Teair Tart it's weird to say, he looks like he is unblockable at times because of how quickly he gets off the snap, how quickly he gets by whoever's in front of him. And Pop-Tart, the Tron Davenport nickname, I think needs the stick. But we were saying this is that this is the perfect guy to win your nose tackle job. You're not paying him $7 million a year like you were Daquan Jones the last 3 years. You're paying him like undrafted rookie numbers, and he's going to be able to go there and add depth on the D line and actually make an impact when he's on the field. He has looked fantastic.
Yeah, I have to agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And so A to Z Sports here live on this Friday show. We've gone through all of our Titans topics today. So we've got Ain't That Good News to send us to the weekend. Well, actually to send Luke and I to Titans practice. Because I have a feeling, Luke, today will be we need to do a live pop-up after practice type of day because Bud Dupree is off PUP if you missed that news. And we'll see what Matt Barkley looks like for his first practice in a Titans uniform. So let's go ahead and get to Ain't That Good News here to send us towards Titans practice. But first, let me tell you guys about Mandu, mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free. Got my Mandu workout scheduled for Sunday morning. Always love working out at Mandu. 15 minutes of full body electronic muscle stimulation. Again, mandu.com. Your first workout's free. If you feel like maybe you've hit that plateau when it comes to your fitness and your workout, Mandu can help you out. Go there, try it out for the first time. It's different. It's different than anything you've ever done. You're not lifting any weights. You're not putting any stress on your joints and on your body. It's electrodes going directly through your muscle groups, all of your muscle groups, no skipping leg days. You're getting it all. You're getting core, you're getting chest, back, biceps, everything at Mandu in only 15 minutes. Mandu.com, your first workout's free.
And again, if you sign up for BetMGM today, you use that promo code A to Z Sports, you get a risk-free bet of up to $600. BetMGM, the king of sports books.
All right, Luke, I'll let you start. What is your good news today as you're filling in for Zach?
My good news is the fact that this first couple of weeks of being back at Titans practice has just been so thrilling after the boredom of the COVID year and, having to rotate who goes to practice and Zoom interviews that were often very dry and boring. It's just been very exciting to be there every day, to be talking to our friends in the media, to be making new friends in the media with some of the new faces that we didn't really get to know last year because we weren't around them, and to be doing in-person interviews, even the fence line interviews where we're standing 6 feet away from a guy who's 6 feet away on the other end of a bike rack, and we're kind of, hunched over with our tape recorder. Like, even that's just been absolutely thrilling compared to what we had last year, and being able to have actual banter with players going back and forth, and with Vrabel and with whoever they bring to the podium. It's been a lot of fun. It's been really, really cool and exciting. So that's my good news, is the fact that with our current state of COVID, and I know that there's the variant out there and who knows what that means, but for right now, we're back and in person, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, good news. I'm going to read some of the comments. I agree, man. It's been like being back at training camp feels good, because last year was, we only had one credential per outlet. And so you didn't get to hang out with the other media. You were masked up. It was freaking hot and you were masked up. As soon as practice ended, you had to get the hell out of there and leave. And so this feels a lot better. More good news from you guys. Jeff says, good news, got his first COVID injection Sunday and football is back. Got his annual pass preview for Remy's Ratatouille adventure at Disney. And Jeff lives down there in the Disney World area. So he's getting, I don't know if it's Disneyland or World. I get confused, whatever. But James says, ain't that good news? NASDAQ and S&P all-time highs yesterday. Crypto on the rise again. There you go, James. Rob says, good news. My guy Peyton Manning going into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I didn't watch a single second of the Hall of Fame game last night, and I predict I will not watch a single second of any Hall of Fame inductions over the weekend, Luke. It's just not something I care about anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Let's see. Bud is all the good news I needed this morning, and it's Friday. Yeah, Bud Dupree off the PUP is definitely good news. Larry says things seem to be falling into place for the defense. That's good news. Louis breaking news to me. If International Beer Day, Louis, good news. Great. Danny says first day of school for my kids. Got a senior, junior, and freshman this year, and they're all actually excited to go back. Ain't that good news? That is good news to get the schools back normal. I know in Middle Tennessee area, most school systems are back to zero restrictions when it comes to anything that they had to deal with over the last year and a half. Cam says, got my top fan badge. Excellent news. And I always think it's funny because we don't control. Nobody that it works for A to Z Sports controls the badges that Facebook hands out. That is truly on your performance that Facebook decides on its own. Let's see. Any more good news?
I like this one.
Go ahead.
What good news? A to L Sports Nashville. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my good news is actually the fact that that Luke's doing the show with me for the next couple of weeks because Zach is on his way to Dallas. I believe he spent the night in Little Rock, Arkansas last night, splitting up the drive a couple of days. But my good news is that it's crazy to think that as we are doing our morning show that we've been doing for almost 5 full years now, that we have a guy repping the A to Z Sports brand in Dallas doing a morning show simultaneously. Like, I find that so fun. We've got Bucks doing his show. Our guy Mauricio's doing his primetime show in Dallas at the same time that Bucks doing his. Will Steele is our morning show host in Dallas. He is crushing it. Like, it's awesome to just watch this business take off and to see the people that we hire grow and do like their own thing, put their own style on it, and that Zach is going to Dallas to help set this thing up. It's just really cool, man. Like, it's like,
yeah,
it's very like, I got the notification on my phone that the Dallas morning show went live right as we went live. And I'm like,
yeah,
God, this is just weird. It's a pinch myself type moment. Things are exploding. And, I feel like Zach and I have done a good job when it comes to trying to manage our lives with it over the last several months. It's been nuts, but Luke's done a great job of stepping up over the last several months, and his role is just getting bigger with the company. We've got several people who are growing within the company. Buck's doing his thing. Our guy Adam's helping out a lot. And I'm not don't mean to leave anybody out, but Alan Bell, Brian Edwards, all these different things we have going. The Tighten Up podcast is crushing it. And so it's great. So that my good news is just really feeling it that this business is starting to really, really take off, and a lot of more people are getting involved in it on screen. So that's my good news. Pan personal a little bit there, but it's a good feeling, that's for sure.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Luke and I will be back live after Titans practice at St. Thomas Sports Park. So we'll see what Bud Dupree looks like in his first practice in a Titans uniform. Also, Matt Barkley will be out there. So we'll see what happens. We'll see you guys probably around like 12:30-ish, 1 o'clock, something around like that. So we'll see you guys then. Make sure you follow us all over the social media. Training camp content will be going out within this hour. So we'll see you guys later on. Have a good one. Thanks again.